I love to be scared, and I like eating chocolate, and I love that I don't have to buy anyone a gift. But I don't like costumes. And I'm not exactly sure why that is, but for the purposes of making this essay fit the theme of masks, I'm going to say it's because I lived behind a mask for the bulk of my youthhood. And somewhere along the way, I could no longer do that. My memory of growing up in a conservative Christian household was that I spent every waking moment feeling out of place and trying to wear whatever mask would help me be like everyone else. So I thought, I'll just be nice and I'll keep my head down. And that wasn't really much of a struggle until I got to high school. Those are the formative years. My memory of that girl, that mask, the one in high school, is one I absolutely do not recognize now. And to be fair, I didn't remember much about high school. After I graduated, I went to university and didn't look back for many years. I was far too busy wearing the Finding Myself costume, which translated into dyeing my hair a lot of colors and dressing like a vintage idiot and cutting class and drinking and doing experimental drugs and listening to rock music and pining over bad boys who wanted no part of me. And the rare times I did reflect on high school and who I was and the girl I tried to be back then, I remembered this girl. Right here, this one, this. That's the girl I remember. Couple of things of note about this picture, okay? Just a couple. Can't smile. Don't know how to smile yet. Secondly, my mother made this top, which doubled as the church choir uniform, and I thought that was a good choice for picture day. The glasses were those kind that darkened in the sun but never quite undarkened. And so, as a result, I was obsessed with thinking that I wasn't seeing the world as everyone else saw it. In retrospect, that's pretty right on. My memories of me during these formative years were this. I was fat. I had no style. Side note, I was living in a little uber-Christian town in Tennessee, so to not have style when style was Levi's and monogrammed sweaters was really tragic. Beyond description. I never had a single kiss from a boy in high school. I was never elected to any office, and yes, I ran. I did plays, but there was no drama department at my high school, so I did the plays through the summer program at the community center with my friends' parents and my parents' friends. So my memory of my high school experience was that I lived behind a mask, and it was entirely uneventful and uninteresting and forgettable. I am not the girl I was then. I have prided myself on growing into a woman of strength and opinions, a woman who speaks her mind, often to her detriment, who takes time for her friends, a woman with talent, panache, someone memorable, and occasionally overly dramatic, because I don't want any of y'all to get lazy. So here's where the essay begins. I was looking through my high school annuals so I could get material for this piece, and when I looked at my senior picture, this is not the girl I saw. This is the girl I saw. Oh. So, yeah, well, sort of. I thought, who the fuck is she? I mean, Dorothy Hamill could kiss my ass, right? That is some genius 80s hair right there. And then I saw this. Okay, that's a little washed out, but you get my point. Okay, the thing about this is, two things of note in this picture. A, not fat. I mean, that girl isn't fat. I mean, let's face it, that skirt is brilliantly hiding some flaws in the hip and thigh area. But not fat. And be elected to something by the student body. Most school-spirited, which I was. And then I saw this. Steph, president of the Spanish Club. See me, amiga. President. Oh, and then there was this. going to be harder to see. Well, first of all, monogram sweater. So that's A there. B, I don't think it says it here, but I don't need because of the way I did it, but it's a departmental award for physical education.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's what I remember about phys ed. I refused to take off my bra and panties to take a shower. Just lean in and do that, call it a day. I hadn't sweated enough in phys ed to take a shower or to win an award. So obviously I do not have a clear memory of my high school experience. Let me turn this off so you don't get distracted on the speech. I'll turn it back on in a minute. I do not have a clear memory of my high school experience or any memory of my high school experience, apparently. Maybe because I wasn't hiding the whole time, but you know what? Pictures lie, right? We all smile in pictures even when we aren't happy or having fun. So I decided to read what the kids had written, believing fully that I would garner nothing of interest. And the truth is that for the years 9 through 11, kids wrote stuff like, "It was fun having you in science. You're so quiet. Thanks for the gum." But then I read this stuff in my senior annual, and I'm gonna have to read some of it for you. I'm gonna start by I started by reading the longest ones because I thought they would be the most revealing. So here's a whole page that had been reserved for my friend Pam. Pam I remember well because she was one of my closest friends, and allow me to point out the tears. Oh, can you see it? The tears at the top that are labeled tears. Because I was graduating. Also note the various boys' names peppering the top. Bobby, Jerry, Tom. Yeah, none of whom I remember at all. And here's where it's somewhere in the middle here. It says, "Thanks for all those times you cheered me up and gave me much needed advice. Thanks for being patient and understanding when I was acting like a real shithead. I mean, sometimes I'm a real dildo." Spelled like a dill-flavored female diva. We've shared so many tears, parenthetical, a lot of tears, 1,691,434,200 to be exact. But there are a lot more laughs. I'll never forget Bobby. I love making out, but I love you more, Pam. Now this does trigger some memories, but mostly about who Pam was, not who I was. And my thought now is that if I was experiencing over 1 billion tears with this girl as a friend, I should have gotten a new friend. What does that say about who I was and what I presented? All right, so then the next longest one was from Tracy with 2 E's. So that's here. See that. Take a moment to appreciate the effort that went into drawing the flowers and the vines that continued on to the next page. So I was sure that this one would shed some light on who I was. And it probably would have had she not gotten distracted and teenage angsty. It goes off track right around here. A new song by Andy Gibb is playing on my radio right now. It's kind of cast a strange mood in my room. I was looking at all the senior pictures and everyone looks so happy and full of life, and it makes me sad to think that after May 26th, we won't be together again like this. And when we meet again, some of us may have that glow of youth and expectancy of what life is going to offer us taken out of our eyes. I didn't mean to be depressing. Hope it doesn't bring tears to your eyes. But that's not true, is it? She really did hope it brought tears to my eyes, and probably hoped it would bring tears to my eyes every time I read it through the years. Little did she know that I would block out entire segments of my life and move on so very completely, so very quickly. Plus, Andy Gibb never really brought tears to my eyes except when this song went on too long. All right. All right, so in terms of being enlightened, about who I was versus who people thought I was because of the masks I wore, thus far I was getting dick. And speaking of dick, I found this little gem from a kid named Doug. Alex, I really love you. You're one of my best friends. I've never had someone that has been so close to me in such a short time. God bless. I love you. Again, Doug. Okay, so remember when I told you I didn't kiss a boy in high school? That's not entirely true. Doug was a sophomore when I was a senior, so his opinion of me did not matter. He was wiry and goofy and cute, and he thought I was cool because I was a senior. Here's the story. I was grounded, which was ludicrous because I was such a good and boring kid, which is another essay. So I get a phone call. It was the aforementioned Pam from the 1.5 billion Tears. She said, sneak out around 11, we're gonna pick you up, click. So I did sneak out, and she did pick me up. She and Doug and another darling little sophomore named Jens Woody. Insert boner jokes here. We went to Jens' house. His parents were out of town. We drank peppermint schnapps. We got drunk, and I gave Doug a blowjob. Now, hear me out. In my defense, I was a virgin, and I was petrified of getting pregnant, as you'll know from previous essays. So I thought, I better learn some skills if I'm going to keep a boyfriend, if I ever get one. I needed the practice. Doug was game. I didn't care what he thought of me because he was younger than me. Nobody would ever believe him because I was so freaking chaste. Nothing to lose, right? So although technically there was some kissing before the act, I wouldn't call it a date. He never called me on the phone. He never acted like he liked me. He never asked me out. I mean, I wouldn't have gone. Come on. I mean, I'll blow him. I'm not going to go on a date with him. So he never brought it up again, and it slipped my mind. So now I'm thinking, maybe I was a little more interesting in high school than memory serves. Maybe I didn't wear that mask as long as I thought I had. I wasn't sure. I had to read on. So then I come to this. Cutting out several in between here. Alex, it's been wonderful being your friend this year. It seems you kind of blossomed, finally felt good about yourself, and let the world know. I admire so much your honesty and sense of humor. You make one marvelous friend, Lisa. Lisa was a cheerleader and a super smarty, and eventually moved into a cabin in the woods somewhere and wrote a couple of books of poetry and got published. Now she's teaching in San Luis Obispo. Apparently, she was paying more attention than I was, and I can only guess that this was the explanation. Maybe my senior year, I stopped trying to keep my head down. Maybe I took off the mask and the costume for a little while, until I went to university and put on the punk rock mask and the I don't want to belong to anybody mask and the everybody bores me mask. And then I moved here, and don't get me started on the masks I've worn over the last 20 years. What I'm saying is I love Halloween. I love the adrenaline rush of it. I love pissing in the face of right-wingers who think it's pagan. I love being fake scared. But I'm done with the masks. I'm done with wondering who I am, and I'm no longer embarrassed by who I was. In fact, I kind of like that girl. I know it's cliche to say, but everything that has happened in our lives has been put in the bubbling cauldron that has made the magic that each of us is. And with the exception of telling the showbiz industry your real age, I suggest you take off your masks and let your face show, zits and all. It's scary, but in the funnest, scary maze where monsters can't touch you kind of way. And here's what I find. When I don't have a mask on, it's much easier to see and much more fun to enjoy other people's costumes. And that is all. Happy Halloween! All right, what did I do with my intros? Oh, here we go. My headliners are all so humble. They send me like these. I say, hey, send me your intro. And it sends me this one little thing that says, our headliner is a stand-up comedian whose last Comedy Central special was chosen Best of the Year by iTunes.